Well. Do you know all of the people in my comments that have told us that we shouldn't be signing defenders and that we need to sign a wide receiver and that we need to sign a wide receiver because Michael Thomas is the only one doing work? Well, you may finally be getting your wish. Now, I'm not saying that the Saints have or are going to sign Antonio Brown, but we are definitely doing our due diligence. I don't really think that this was deserving of a video, but it was as shocking to me as news has been in a long time. So I thought, hey, maybe some people don't know about this. Maybe it will shock them as well. This is literally the biggest news I have seen in a minute. Now, we all know what's been going on with Antonio Brown. If you don't, I'll give you a refresher of everything that's happened here in a minute. But what we do know at the moment, if you've been following his story or not, is that Antonio Brown is currently unemployed, is not a wide receiver in the NFL, and he posted a picture of his free agent waiver for the New Orleans Saints on Instagram, posted a picture in the Saints locker room. He's working out for the Saints as we speak. Yeah, Antonio Brown is at the Saints facility working out for Saints officials right now, and he may be signed by the New Orleans Saints. Now, don't freak out, don't panic, but imagine Michael Thomas and Antonio Brown on the same field. Drew Brees would have a heyday, but regardless, if you don't know about the story of Antonio Brown, we're going to delve into that a little bit. Here's a timeline posted by CBS Sports Boston as when he got signed by the Patriots, so I appreciate you. Let's go ahead and read through this a bit. March, the Steelers traded Antonio Brown to the Raiders. Brown forced his way out of Pittsburgh after multiple rifts with Ben Roethlisberger and head coach Mike Tomlin. This prompted the Steelers to trade Brown to the Raiders for a 3rd and 5th round pick. The Raiders shortly signed Brown to a 3-year contract extension worth $50 million and $30 million guaranteed. In July and August, that whole frostbite thing happened when he posted his feet all over Instagram with the frostbite on it. In August, oh my God, Antonio Brown had the big helmet preference schmuck where he objected the policy intensely, threatening to retire because he didn't want to wear a specific kind of helmet that was NFL regulation at that point, because he really wanted to wear his old helmet. But after he said that he was going to retire, hated the NFL and all of that stuff, he ended up picking out an approved helmet and wearing it. Yeah, it's ridiculous. In that same month, Antonio Brown publicly posted a letter from Mike Mayock on Instagram, which was bad because he received a fine from him for all of that stuff. It was his general manager, and he was posting his letters out on Instagram. He then confronted Mike Mayock in a screaming match afterwards. I'm pretty sure that's the point where he called him a cracker, but I'm not really 100% sure. He might have called somebody else for a cracker. But he got suspended by the Raiders. Brown apologized because he knew he was potentially losing $30 million. But let's be real, that was only for the money. He then, after that, recorded a phone call between him and John Gruden, which is a no-no always. And then the Raiders fined Antonio Brown $200,000, which prompted him to ask for a release. He then got released, and then he signed with the Patriots. And then this is where everything bad happened. So there was this girl that Antonio Brown, he was like, it was his trainer or something, his athletic trainer or something like that. I'm not really going to go back and do the research on this because I'm pretty sure we all know the story and I don't really feel like going over it again. That's all I was seeing over the summer. But more or less, the woman placed sexual assault allegations on Antonio Brown. And the league takes that stuff pretty serious. As we all know, Ezekiel Elliott was able to play with all of the allegations and restraining orders he had on him. But that doesn't mean Antonio Brown will. If the Saints do sign Antonio Brown, which it's looking like they might, they're going to force the league's hand on Antonio Brown's issue. Now, let me explain this to you real quick. Because of Antonio Brown's sexual assault allegations and all of the things he said towards the league, when Antonio Brown gets signed by a team, can place Antonio Brown on the commissioner's exempt list or just straight up suspend him without pay just because they want to. They have not put anything into action as of late because I don't know. They're just cowering away from it. But they said when he signs with the team, he will likely be placed on the commissioner's exempt list, which means this. He will not be able to play for the rest of the season, which is absolutely ridiculous and I think a little bit unfair. For investigations that have been going on for months, nothing has been proven. We have gotten nowhere with those investigations. Why is Antonio Brown still being threatened to be placed on the commissioner's exempt list? But what we got to understand is this isn't 100%, and that is why the New Orleans Saints are looking into Antonio Brown. There is a real and legitimate chance that if we sign Antonio Brown, he can become a weapon for the playoffs to come. I'm not even going to get into Antonio Brown's stats here. We all know how good he is. If you don't, just a quick Google search will let you know that he was the best wide receiver in football for years and years and years, was extremely good in 2017 and 18. And then he has a 90 Pro Football Focus grade for 2019, but he didn't really play many games. He had a good game when he played against the Dolphins in New England, but that's besides the point. So the Saints are legitimately looking into Antonio Brown. The first person to break this story on Twitter was Ian Rappaport, who is literally the most trustworthy news source for the NFL you can get. Yeah, he's literally in there working out right now. I heard that there are three teams interested in Antonio Brown, the New Orleans Saints being one of them. So I think there's a real chance we do sign this dude. The New Orleans Saints have a knack for finding talent, and I don't think they're going to let this one slip through their fingers. We have been preaching Antonio Brown in New Orleans, Antonio Brown in New Orleans for 2 years, and now it might happen. So all of you We Need a Wide Receiver enthusiasts can finally stop saying it. It's actually ridiculous. But yeah, like I said, it won't be a cut and dry situation. The NFL's already made it clear that any club willing to sign Brown will also do so, knowing he will likely be placed on the commissioner's exempt list due to the league's pending investigation into his ongoing legal issues. Brown has already met with the NFL to plead his case, and what followed was a tirade of anger hurled at the league and a refusal to ever step foot on an NFL field again, only to rescind that statement, apologize, and continue on a perpetual cycle of doing those two things over the past 2 weeks. Now, thank you CBSSports.com, because that was the most Antonio Brown paragraph I have ever seen. If this dude joins the New Orleans Saints, take away his Instagram, take away his Twitter, take away his Facebook, MySpace, Tinder, I don't care. TikTok, take away anything. Take away any source of social media whatsoever that this dude could end up using, because Antonio Brown is his own worst enemy. If he literally would just shut up and keep what he has in his brain instead of on social media, he would have never left Oakland. He probably would have never forced his way out of Pittsburgh. He can't keep his mouth shut, and he just won't. But I think, listen to this. So, Eli Apple, I know you guys are sick and tired of me bringing him up, but when he was in New York, his teammates were calling him a locker room cancer. Everybody in New York hated Eli Apple. Eli Apple was apparently the worst person on earth. Players like, I think it was I don't remember who it was, someone, and they were all spreading, that Eli Apple's a cancer, Eli Apple's a horrible person to work with, and then he came to New Orleans and fit with the corner group extremely nicely. He's an energetic guy. He does dances with the secondary. He's loved by the players around him. I think the New Orleans Saints can do the same for Antonio Brown. Some people say there's no fixing him. When he was in New England, he looked like he actually wanted to play football. He looked like he was going to make that his home. He isn't the reason that he left New England. It was the whole, okay, I just seen Antonio. I'm not going to say that anyone does this in specifics. I'm not trying to downplay the act of the incident, but let's be honest here. Antonio Brown got paid a whole ton of money. You know what? I'm not even going to say it because people skew things so much nowadays and people are so sensitive. Either way, Antonio Brown got a sexual assault charge dropped on him, and now he's unemployed. I think that's completely unfair. I don't think action should be taken until everything is proven, but whatever. So, a quick little rundown. The New Orleans Saints are working out Antonio Brown. He has signed a free agent waiver, and he's in our facility at the moment, working out right now. There is a strong possibility the New Orleans Saints actually sign him. There are 3 teams interested, New Orleans being one of them. This could be a huge help if Antonio Brown isn't put on the commissioner's exempt list so that we can play and use him throughout the playoffs. He's a plug-and-play wide receiver. He doesn't need to know the playbook. This dude is absolutely insane. One of the best wide receivers in the NFL when he plays. Was better than Thom at one point, and now Michael Thomas is like the best. Anyway. Saints signing Antonio Brown. He's coming to do work, likely. If we sign him, there's a chance that we could have him next year if we do feel like re-signing him. He may ask for more money then. I think he just wants a stage to prove that he can still play football. And AB, I'm telling you, the New Orleans Saints are more than welcome to give you that. Bring this dude home. Give Drew Brees another weapon. Make this offense unstoppable. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you boys in the next one. Make sure to comment what you think about the Antonio Brown situation down below, and I'll see you boys in the next one.
Ballin' like Barkley, wrist so sparkly, internet surfing, feel like iCarly.